We're here.
Here it is, the show that never stops. Two Detroit nerds. We're live once again. Dom, we had a couple of great weeks. I think the last time we were here, it had just finished. What's that shit called? Arts, Beats, and Eats.
Arts, Beats, and Eats.
Which I told you then it was okay for what it was. Like, it was a good arts festival in a place like Royal Oak. It's what you expect.
Yeah.
Expensive food. All right bands. Very, very much a family kind of vibe. Dally in the Alley was not that. Dally in the Alley
was the opposite.
Dally in the Alley is, let's tell first what it is. It's a Midtown Detroit kind of festival that happens near the campus of Wayne State.
Yeah.
And they said it was their 44th annual. I had no idea it had been going on for that long.
This is my second. I just found that out recently too.
Yeah, it was great. There was some dope DJs, some sick, like, when I'm trying to hear something that literally stops what I'm doing blocks away, like, I'll be parking my car and I'll literally hear the beat like miles away, and I'm like, whatever's going on over there, that's where I gotta be.
I need to be.
That's where I have to head right now. Dally in the Alley gave me that feeling, and it'd been a while. I'm not saying that Detroit isn't great, and for its nightlife,
you gotta just find it at the right time.
You gotta find it at the right time, and man, did it come alive! Like, holy shit!
Like I said, this is only this is your second year.
That was my second year too. Yeah, man.
I mean, it's a little early to say, but I've had fun every time I've been, and I love the vibe around there.
Yeah.
If you kind of like, you can go to certain places, certain events, certain festivals, and not get the same feeling that I'm about to explain, but you kind of feel like, in the best way possible, everybody that's there has a similar feeling as the next person. Like, everybody, like, obviously you know what you're going there for, but everybody's cool. There's no trouble there.
No.
They got numerous food trucks, like you already said, great music. Like, there's just a lot to see down there and a lot to be involved in, and I think that's what makes it work so well. And for those that have never been or don't know what we're talking about, huge area that they hold that into.
Yeah,
there's people for blocks, literally blocks.
They shut down like a good section of Midtown. They put up stages, and they have vendors everywhere. You can walk around the whole area and go see different, DJ sets. Rock bands are playing. 3rd Street Bar was absolutely jumping.
I was mad and that was go by there, bro.
And that was the end of it. That was the closing of that bar. 3rd Street Bar, RIP. Anybody that was a big 3rd Street Bar fan, it's done now. That
was the last time they were being open?
They shut it down, bro. This was the
final
for the
night.
No. For literally, that was its like final opening night. And then they were shutting it down the next day. Yeah. So it was a crazy, like, they had this open courtyard. It was dope. I ran into somebody there who I'd met through Allie, who literally knew a person that I went to college with. Like, the weirdest connections.
Small world.
Small ass world. It's that weird shit where you're like, yeah, this is a simulation. Like, this is
If you want to realize how small the world is, come to Detroit. You will find out instantly. You'll be humbled very quick. I promise.
That is true. But yeah, man, it was just a great vibe. I really like the young scene out here. Like, and I mean young as in, like, the people that are maybe a year or two younger than us right now. I think people are really appreciating good art. They're
outside.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing about it. They're outside because there's this common stipulation that they're not. A lot of this younger generation, even though a year or two isn't that much younger than us, but still, it's a good thing to see because you almost feel like the appreciation of live music is kind of a thing of the past, but it's not. If you're actually out there involved with it, you'll see it's very much prevalent, and it's kicking, bro. It's going.
And it's happening in this town, man.
Yes.
It is happening in this town.
The best town possibly for it.
Shouts out to Instagram. I was fucking looking at so many of the local artists and the local musicians. I mean, there's a huge painting scene out here. People are real serious about painting in Detroit. And shouts out to anybody that does painting. We want to hear from you because there's a lot of talent in this city.
There is. Huge.
And I want to start covering some painters because
bro.
It's incredible. But on top of that, like, you have, of course, a huge techno community out here. You have a huge house community out here. And they're doing things. They're setting up events. It's not like you just go to, there's TV Lounge and there's tons of these other little places that if you just kind of plug in and you tune your ears to it, all of a sudden it's everywhere.
It's like a diamond in the rough, bro.
Yeah.
You don't have to look far for it, but it's there.
It's there, man.
For sure there.
It's there. This is an exciting place.
It is, man. It's, and obviously you have the things that make it that way. You know, DIA, everybody, I'm sure everybody here that's an artist wants to get in there. You know, DIA is big.
So, you know that I grew up in Maryland, like right outside of Washington, D.C. I would go to the Smithsonian, like, a lot because it was free. It was like a thing we do on Sundays, and that's supposed to be the best, you know, museum structure in America, and really supposed to be one of the best in the world. The DIA is better.
Yeah. Oh, I believe
the DIA is better. Like, I think the Smithsonian has unique things in it.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, a one building, like, collection of serious...
You won't find something
You
better.
can't find anything like that. I've been to tons of museums, and the DIA still...
That's good to know.
Yeah, no, we got something special here. Yeah, for sure. Like, real special. And I think it lends to a lot of Detroit having such a high standard for art. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
One thing a lot of comedians say is that Detroit's one of the hardest places to perform.
To make it is.
Yeah, because, and not even just to make it, but like if you're a big comedian, like even like Dave Chappelle would say, like it's particularly hard to not bomb in Detroit. Like people are very skeptical. Like they want good quality, excuse me, jeez. Good quality, good jokes, you know, that maybe other cities might let it slide. Oh, whatever, he's having an off night. In Detroit, you got to bring your A game.
Bro, I mean, Detroit would be like the perfect staple or template for this saying of if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah,
because that's really how it is. Like, and it definitely, outside of hardships and things that Detroit might bring, like it is the people. And to go on the topic you're talking about with comedians, a lot of people in Detroit don't like that funny shit, if you will. They don't like that kind of like that style of how somebody could be. Now, I'm not saying don't be a comedian in Detroit. Definitely be one. But for somebody like Dave Chappelle to say that, bro, I feel like being around Dave Chappelle, 5 minutes, he's going to have anybody laughing.
Right.
He's one of the go-to comedians. So for him to say that, it really is a testament to how serious that is here, because it's not easy to sway, it's not easy to sway a crowd here in Detroit. And I'm not saying that's all that comes with it, but that's a big thing. If you can sway your crowd in Detroit, like you got it.
Yeah,
you definitely have it.
That's what I'm saying.
You can do it here.
Yeah, and it's a real testament to the art that people grow up around. You know, obviously you have Motown here. You know, you had so much of the cream of the crop, like the most perfected versions of like so much popular music and art that it's great. But that brings me to something I was actually, speaking of comedians, I told you I did comedy for like a year last year. Yeah, I went to, so I did it a couple of times. I did it one time in Plymouth. That was my first time since I got up in New Orleans when I was in college, like just as a joke with some of my friends. But then the first time I really actually tried to do some jokes that I wrote down was in Plymouth. I don't want to be a comedian. I'm going to say that now. This is not going to turn into a guy who wants to be a comic podcast. I'm not trying to do that, but it's definitely not easy. But one thing I noticed was like in Plymouth, it was like, you know, mostly white area, and people are going to be really supportive and nice, and it's a safe space.
Regardless of what kind of content you're bringing.
Exactly. And then I tried my same routine at the shipping company in Detroit, and I did, and then we're like, all right, time to get off the stage.
Gotta fuck off, 100%.
And it was a good like reminder that, you know, when you are in certain crowds, you do need to bring a certain level of heat.
You do. It's not, and that's why I also think it makes it so tricky, specifically trying to become a comedian, because a lot of people might think otherwise on this. You have to be smart to be a well-profound comedian. It's like you see a lot of these guys, and like with some of the content that they put out and release to the media, they would come off to the average person as like, oh, not as smart. You're a little bit dumb. It's the way they're acting, it's the way they're talking, the way they think about things. No, it's the opposite. They're actually very smart people. And you are to me. You're a very smart person. So
Thanks,
I don't,
Dom.
it's definitely it's the crowd. The crowd like doesn't necessarily say as much to how good of a comedian you are, but again, going back to it, bro, had that shit went good, who knows if you would have been here with me at the podcast trying to do this. You might have went into that as your next try. You know what I mean? If it would have clicked. But that doesn't necessarily say anything. I want to know this.
Yeah.
You said the first time you ever did it started out as a joke with your friends. You just got up somewhere and tried something.
Yeah, we were just having fun. Yeah.
Did it work that time?
Yeah, it went well.
Yeah. See,
the first time
so I can understand it, because the crowd says a lot. It really does.
Yeah.
But don't let it get there, bro. You can still do it, bro.
Nah, the thing is,
I got confidence in
what
you.
I like about comedy is that it is like the perfect feedback of like, are you good at writing? Like, because I was traditionally a writer. Like, I went to college for writing. I was a serious writer for many years. I still consider myself that, but you know, when it's hard to come up with new material or for something to write about, I'm like, well, what can get me writing that I can get instant feedback on? Because it's one thing to, you know, I feel like there's a phase that a lot of writers go through where you're okay with writing things that no one will ever read because you're just like working on your craft.
Yeah.
And it's like a first love. You're finding yourself. But then after a while, you're like, okay, I want people to read it. I want to know if I want to know if it's good or not. And I was trying to find what's an outlet where I could write something and immediately get feedback that's honest.
Comedy.
Makes sense. Comedy, there's nothing more honest than can you make someone laugh?
Because it's not that's brought me to this next point. It's not like anything you find funny doesn't mean the next person finds it funny, right? So that's where you can possibly meet that hard area with comedy is you have to look at it as what's something that I can generally make, if not everyone, majority of everybody find funny, find interesting, whatever it may be. That's where I feel like if you can work your way around that, that's the key. Because it's not easy. Like you can make even a lot of people in your life laugh. Yeah. But that comes with other things. They know you. Yeah. They're used to your kind of humor. You know what I mean? Those kinds of things. When you have a generally universal kind of humor, that's when it's like, bet I can get something with this. You know, I can get something out of this.
Exactly. And I think the best way I ever heard it told was that comedy at its core is, or stand-up comedy specifically, is you telling how your perspective meets the world's perspective. Like, if you can clearly explain that to someone through joke form, you'll almost always make them laugh.
Every time.
Because it's, number one, it's relatable. We all see the world in our own way. But if you're making it about how you see the world and making that unique and funny, you did it.
It's gold.
Yeah, so like... one of the things I saw with some of the Detroit comics that were doing really well at it was 313 Comedy. Shouts out to 313 Comedy. They were all very good at just being themselves on stage. Yes. Like there weren't too many set up punchline kind of comics that kind of were doing it robotically. Yeah. There were a lot of people who were characters and they were using their charisma or their uniqueness to sell you a joke. And like I thought that was like that to me was like a real demonstration of like, okay, in this community, specifically in this scene, like if you're genuine and authentic, you'll win a crowd.
Absolutely.
Like it's just that simple.
And I think that speaks a lot about Detroit because that's how a lot of residents here in Detroit are. Like if you want to come meet what people label or stamp a real person is, come here to Michigan, you will find out. And you know, it might be hard for some people. It might be just what you're looking for others, but you will find real people here to their core. Like more, in my opinion, more than anywhere else. Possibly on Earth. I'll definitely say in America. Possibly on Earth. It really is. Detroit has that kind of energy, I guess I could say, just flowing through the air. And you know, you get a whiff of it. You kind of can't let go of it after that. So I'm with that.
Well, one of the things my dad was telling me about Detroit that I thought was super interesting was that historically, specifically like the black community of Detroit, like if you were someone that was like a senior level person working at a Ford factory, like you were you were union or something like that, you could be making more than a doctor. Like so this was allowing basically working class people who were migrating from the South to make like a lot of great money, like money that can last at least one generation. But then what happened was, because those factories closed down and because the people who were in those families just wanted to continue working on those in those factories, there was never really a development of like a professional class. Like a lot of people were like, why would I want to be a tax attorney? I can work at Ford.
I can just go to Ford. I can go right to Ford out of high school, no degree, make $100K a year. And we're talking at times where that was $100K was a lot of money. Like a lot, like $200,000-$300,000. Yeah, maybe now is how much $100,000 was worth then. Right, and it was in. I hate to like sound like I'm sugarcoating it, but it was literally that easy. You could literally leave high school, go start a job making $50K a year. Yeah, and we're talking how much are houses then? Yeah, literally nothing compared to what they are now.
$10?
$10. Yeah, a fucking McDonald's meal price. Like, come on, let's be real here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's crazy how much has changed.
It's crazy
so much.
But I say that to say that like that's probably why there is that like what you and I identify as like realness in Detroit, because there's that absence of like pretentiousness. Nobody went to, you know, a bunch of Ivy League schools on the East Coast and came back and brought that culture here.
Right.
That's not what happened.
They stayed wherever they got it from.
Exactly, and I think that adds to a level of authenticity where art can thrive, right? Like you have a lot of people that just say things how they are, see things like they are, and will, you know, give you real feedback as to like whether or not you're in. Yeah, that's what I feel like our Detroit segment should be.
Yeah, bro. I mean, how much better than that can we get, bro? Come on. Let's be real here.
Yeah, right. But
so there's something I gotta know, because I've been itching since you told me.
Okay, all right.
Itching.
I think it's time now that we enter the let's say the principal segment of this show, which is that I got an Xbox Series S.
Fucking did it, people.
Yeah, I went ahead and just got a Series S. It was an impulse buy. What I was talking to Dom about before we started the show was like, there's never a perfect time to. I mean, obviously, like, you know, we're not kids anymore. We're not hurting for money. I can buy a fucking video game console anytime I want.
Whatever you want.
But when you're an adult, especially as you get older, you're like, when
do I need this?
Do I need another distraction? Do I need to spend hundreds of dollars on something that, you know, was a childhood hobby? Maybe I should just keep the Xbox One that I have and just, you know, play games on that, you know, whatever. I can still do the show and appreciate video games.
Of course.
That's kind of what I would tell myself. But then I'm like, okay, we have to do new games. We have to talk about, you know, current stuff. I kind of owe it to myself and this show to like, all right, let me get into the new shit. So I got a Series S, love it, it's great, very happy about it. Again, then I got Starfield, which is the game that everyone told me I need to get, and
everybody's still talking about.
And I listened to it. We talked about it last episode. I listened to everybody. I went ahead and got it. Okay, so Dom, here's what I have to say, just to get this out of the way.
Yeah,
it's a great game.
Yeah,
it's a good game. I'm happy that I got it. I wish I could play it though. I wish it would let me play it. Like, when I get to play it, it's a fun game. But a lot of the time, I'm on screens that are for me hopping around the universe. Loading screens. I'm confused in certain parts of missions. Where am I supposed to go next? Right now, I'm stuck in a mission where there's like a bunch of spherical objects like swirling it, making like a sphere. And I'm just in this big hall, and it keeps telling me to investigate the sphere spinning thing. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And I'm just, I've been stuck for hours.
I think I already know.
So my point, but my point is like, I want to tell you that IGN was wrong. I want to tell you that what I heard about the game before I got it was inaccurate. But I think they were right on the money. I think it was a great game, and I think it will be once they iron out the kinks and once I get farther into the game, it'll really show itself for what kind of game it is. And I will honestly say this though, in its defense, I don't think that guy who interviewed it at IGN actually played more than like 5 to 10 hours of it. I don't think he did.
I said the same exact thing when I read the actual article about. Here's why it was different for me than it was for you. When the article came out, I already had the game. Or no, I had got the game a day or two afterwards, and I actually played a little bit before I went back and tried to match my thoughts to what I read. And I feel like that's a common thing that happens as well. A lot of these newer games, the way people like to feed out and give information is like, I played it for 10 hours. This is exactly how the game is going to be. Boom, I'm done.
Yeah.
I would oppose that only because this. The very same problems you say you've had, and if it's the mission I'm thinking about, I understand why you feel that way, because it's not easy to get a sense of direction in the game. But I kind of like it. I really do, and here's why. For somebody like us, for somebody that's been in the game as long as we have, and played the kind of games that we did growing up, a lot of games I felt like at the time, majority of, handed you a lot of stuff. They kind of like held your hand and walked you through it. Here's what you have to do.
And it lacks the immersion.
And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. With a certain style of game, that is a perfect way to do it, because you can have motherfuckers out here lost for days trying to figure out how to advance to the next spot, or you can have people that are like, oh, I might know what to do. Me personally, if it's the mission I'm thinking of, you said the spherical, Was it with the other guy and you're in like a no gravity zone?
Yeah, you're in a no gravity zone.
Did you figure out what to do?
No, I'm still stuck on that.
Is it with that big star galaxy looking thing in the middle? Okay, here's all you have to do.
What do I have to do?
As soon as you get in the room,
please tell me. Oh my god.
And I think this is a very important point to bring up because I've talked to other people who've had the same problem as you.
Yeah.
So you get in there.
Yeah.
The middle thing starts spinning. It'll spawn these certain like areas of light that are definitely very different. All you have to do is fly through one. Now, where you might have been doing wrong is the further that you advance in that, it's not to a critical point, but you have to fly quicker into it because there's a much smaller time frame to get to the next one from what it was from the start, right? Now, I am in agreement with what you said about maybe some sense of direction with that because I knew right away, just because of how many other games I've played, how many different games that I played with no direction, I kind of knew what to look for. I figured it would have been one of two things.
Mm-hmm.
I have to shoot those,
right,
or I have to fly into them. It would have been nothing else than that because I was like, what am I supposed to do? Right. Clearly the thing in the middle wasn't activated, whatever it might have been.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because we're in the age of so many, and I'm not calling you one, so many casual gamers.
Right.
For those of you that don't know the term casual gamers, you're somebody that's probably just gotten into a new genre of a game or never played any style of game that you're playing now to have what we would call common sense of a game world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So them doing that for somebody like me, I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't want you to tell me what to do. Let me figure it out because you almost feel very accomplished figuring it out on your own.
That's true. You do, yeah.
But
it's a good feeling.
Because there's so many people that have never played a Bethesda game, played this style of game, they could have added something in there to let you know, like, hey,
all it takes is
do this.
Yeah, all it takes is like
show a marker on one of the little beams of light to know that's where you have to go.
And I'm all for mystique.
Yeah,
I'm all for, and you're right. In Starfield's defense, it will, as I play through it, be a much more immersive experience because it doesn't lead my hand through things that other games will never be able to achieve.
Ever.
I will get more satisfaction out of that game than most other games.
Yeah.
I will say that. But the amount of time it will take for me to figure that out slows the gameplay down and makes me, and I'm going to be honest, like it makes me not want to continue to play.
It turns you off.
It turns you off to the game. If there's too many breaks in action, what I've noticed for myself is I will lose interest in a game and then not pick it back up for
100%.
like 3 months. Then when you pick it up, you're like, what was I even doing in this game?
You go pick it back up, you're like, wait, what do I have to fucking do?
Yeah, it's fucking like it. I understand what they're trying to do, and I get that they had to make a stylistic choice with a game that daring, right? Like they couldn't have everything; they had to lose some things to gain others.
Yeah.
But I think for people who are going to be new players to Bethesda games, it doesn't do them any favors. It really does not help out new players. But maybe that's the price we have to pay for a game as daring and as risk taking as this one. So.
Because it has taken a lot of risk, and I feel like in the majority of the areas where it took the risk, it worked for them. It really did because to be realistic, there's only one other game I would credit to doing what Starfield has done as well as they have, and that's No Man's Sky, like me and you talked about.
Yeah.
But to bring it back to Starfield, I feel like for somebody, I've never played any Bethesda games all the way through. The only ones I would have played, and it was a very small amount, would have been like Skyrim.
Yeah.
And I'm still loving it. So I think it does work, but at the same time, like I already had said, I get where you're coming from, and I can see that because there's been a few little roadblocks on my journey throughout the game where I was like, bro, what am I supposed to do right now? And I'm the same way as you. I'm kind of like, damn, like if I'm trying everything I can think of that would work, if I can think of any, I'm not the type of person that wants to go through and look through audio and video logs that you get throughout the game to go find a clue to get something that may not feel worth it to me. I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It will turn me off as well, but I think what makes the game good is that you have the experience you just talked about. I have my experience. I have friends who have played almost every Bethesda title, and they love this. I've had friends who also played every title and don't like it that much. I think that speaks a lot for itself with just showing how different this is. Yeah. And video games have been on the uprise of that for a while now.
Yeah.
Because a lot have stayed to the same kind of conceptual idea of how the game will be throughout the play.
Right.
to stay that same way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas this was like, okay, here's the similarities from our past games, but we're about to fuck you guys up with a whole new thing as well. And make it work. That's why I like it as much. But I think mixed reviews on a game is a good thing. I don't think any game that only gets positive reviews is a fully good game. I don't. And I know it sounds crazy to people that are going to hear this. I don't agree with that because to me that sounds like it's fitting the core player base of who's getting the game.
Right. If it's not pushing any boundaries, like
what are they doing?
What are they really doing? And I think one of the things that I've complained about in the past was like, oh, Call of Duty, it's the same game every year. And then here I am complaining. Yeah, but then here I am complaining. Here's a game that's trying something new, and I'm like, oh well, it's not how it was in the past. And I'm at so that's noted. I understand the issue there, so I get that. But overall, I am happy that I got it. And just to talk about what's good about it, I mean, number one, you feel constantly like you're just scratching the surface, which is
every time you play it. I love it.
A incredible feeling because you know that like you can watch other people's gameplay and be like, how the fuck did they end up in that world? Or what is that thing that they have? And that really gives me a sense of, wow, I'm going to spend a lot of time in this world. So I like that. Something that you said that really stuck with me was that Bethesda's very good at writing characters and having unique feeling NPCs. I mean, oh my fucking god!
I've never played a game that I've been this involved in the story, and I'll be honest, right from the start, never in my life.
Me neither. I really was. I have such low expectations for video game dialogue, video game story. I'll pretty much deal with most bad shit, but this game was not bad at all. And it took me completely by surprise, where I was invested in the story. I was like thinking about what I was going to say, because you can communicate
multiple options.
You have you have decision trees in the game, and it really is engaging. That's probably the best part of the game.
I agree, because I have gotten deep into some video games. Like when I play this, going off of what you just said about the certain responses that you can give to certain things that you're told or asked, bro. Like I'll get excited to pick certain answers to see how it's gonna play out, almost like in real life. Like if somebody brought something to me and I'm like, well, I could respond with this, but I'm gonna respond with this. Let's see what happens. And it gives me this kind of feel. Like I said, I've never been more invested, and It's probably one of the best story modes in a video game that I've played off of that alone, off of the dialogue and the interaction with characters. I don't know if you know this, but you can actually open up new quest lines by further advancing dialogues with certain characters. I didn't even know that till recently. And that just gave me a whole new look on the game. I was like, really? I was like, well, let me be a little more critical about what I pick to respond with. And it's a completely different game. Like your playthrough will be nowhere near the same as mine was.
It's it creates this super unique experience where you genuinely feel like you're there. And I applaud that game heavily for that, because that's a super hard thing to do.
It is.
And I think the only game that I ever played that gave me a lasting feeling like, wow, I had a good time understanding the characters and the story was Mass Effect. And Mass Effect had a similar feel. So I felt like they took the best
comparisons I've seen to the game.
I've seen
Mass Effect,
because it looks a lot like they took the best aspects of Mass Effect and put it into a much more expansive world that gives you like a lot more capabilities. And I was always looking for a game like that because I had so much fun with Mass Effect. So, this is so for people, I guess people like me who haven't gotten the game or were skeptical about it, I would still say to get it if you are a Mass Effect fan, because it will scratch that itch that Mass Effect was, good at scratching.
Here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Do you think it is, and solely based off of your opinion of the game, not anything else I just said right now, not anything you've read, you think it's going to be a Game of the Year contender?
I think so, just because I don't know what else is going to be out. Like, I can't think of anything else that is pushing the boundaries of what gaming could be, like Starfield. Tell you
two others.
What are the other two?
So, one is a game I've never invested any time in. Baldur's Gate 3. Have you heard of it?
No, what's that?
It's a turn-based, strategy-based game, but it's like it has like a medieval setting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got swords, magic, things like that. No guns, no vehicles, things like that. But it's turn based. It's like a strategic type of game. Every single person I know that's gotten the game said it's great.
Really?
The only other game I could give you that I personally feel like is not even just personally. It is going to be the game of the year contender. Would be Zelda. Because of the fun in it.
Get out of here with all that. Either of those, none of those are even close to what will be considered. Here's the thing. With a game that like has a turn-based system but is still like a good game, it's good.
No, I promise you this is a game of the year contender. Not off my personal opinion. Promise you anything I've read online, every person that I know that has played it, and I'm not the biggest fan of turn-based games either. Like the most I've ever played turn-based would be Final Fantasy and like Pokemon, right?
Right.
Those are two different kinds of turn-based.
Right,
it's still turn-based though. Every single person I know that has indulged in this game, there's a lot that comes behind it too. Like a long process since the last entry was actually released.
Okay.
So it's like a lot of that. They actually like spent a lot of time on the game.
Right.
People have only known about it for so long, and then it dropped, and it was like supposedly it exceeded everybody's expectations, but I don't know. I don't know what else has really come out to compare. Like game of the year for me is different than what your game of the year might be, and then somebody else's. So it's hard to say.
No, but what we can all say is the same thing that we would say for an Academy Award winner is like what is the most generally accepted as good product that came out, and I don't see anything close to Starfield in terms of the general acceptance, like the general public being excited for it and then accepting it as being good. I don't see anything else they got that kind of. Now what I will say is the new Final Fantasy I've heard good things about, but what have you heard?
I've heard otherwise.
Oh, really? Let's talk about it.
I've been seeing a lot of as of late. I've been seeing a lot of things online about like as good as well received as it was, maybe because it's this far into the game's release and people have had more time to actually get into the game, play the game, maybe even finish and complete the game. I've seen an article the other day that said it was one of their lowest selling games. I've seen a lot of people that actually played through the whole game just say like there was a lot lacking, and I was very surprised by this because, like I said, I've been an Xbox owner for years now.
Yeah.
I considered buying a PlayStation to get the new Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that's what I was. Bullshit. Yeah, I was about to do that. Yeah.
So I was very taken back by what I was reading online because I don't feel like it was within a small community of people. Like, because you have that. You have a lot of people that like to hate, or you have your like true dedicated fans that no matter what the fuck a company puts out, they're gonna tell you it's good.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
Like, okay, it's not that good, but whatever it is. But I was very surprised to see what I seen, bro.
Wow, because I saw that gameplay from that original trailer,
perfect.
And I was like, this is the Final Fantasy that I wanted for my whole life. But yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, if the sales speak for themselves. I mean, if it were a good game, the thing is no-name games can get huge.
You got to hit it at the right time.
Yeah, if they're good. If they're good, people will go out and buy it. So if it's not good, doesn't matter if it's a AAA title. No. People won't buy it, and that brings me to my other note about video games. So you know how you can do cloud gaming with the X and S. So
shout out Game Pass. Cloud gaming is goated.
Pay for Game Pass, guys.
Yes.
For real. Honestly, I know that Bill Gates pays us to talk about it, but to be honest, it's good. I would do it for free. Like
Game Pass shits on PS Plus. Let's get out the way. Are you Sony fanboys? This isn't for you.
Nah, Microsoft is the gaming platform.
They got it.
Yeah, that's what's happening. But I mean, they pay us $10 million a month for that, but I would do it for free. Like, I really
never
would.
Even meeting Bill Gates, we'd be on here talking about it right now.
It is that good, yeah. But no, I mean, I tried playing Battlefield 2042 because I was like, I don't need to download it. Like, here's how bad this game is, and I'm saying this as a Battlefield hardcore fan.
Yeah, you guys, this guy is a hard.
I only play
down to earth fan. He loves Battlefield over Call of Duty. I don't understand why, but he loves it.
I don't even think about Call of Duty in the same sentence or breath as Battlefield. Battlefield is a truly elegant title. Only the most sophisticated gamers play Battlefield. But the thing is that this new this new title that came out, we've talked about on the old show how much of a disappointment it was. I think anybody listening who knows about gaming, I don't need to tell them, it's an unplayable game.
Yeah.
But I went ahead and I was like, I have the new console, which it was optimized for.
Yeah.
I don't need to download it. It's going to be streamed to me, so it's like painless. I can just play the game. So I'm like, all right, it's been a while since I've played it. Maybe they've done a bunch of updates.
Type shit.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe they've done a bunch of updates. You know, I'm buying the party line, right? The party line for all video games now is wait a couple months after it comes out, it'll get better, right?
Which is sad.
So I mean, can you believe that we're at that?
I'm ashamed of myself for being a part of this community because I'm in that. I'm in that. I'm like, give it a year, it'll be good.
We all do it, and I did it for Battlefield. So I was like, okay, it's been a little while. Let's play it. The most dog shit, poo-poo, bad, horrible video game I've ever played. It felt like I was playing a PS2. No joke. Like, I think a lot of times people hear me talk about this, they think because I do exaggerate when I talk sometimes.
We all do.
We all do. But I think with Battlefield specifically, they don't believe me when I say, number one, when it came out, it was unplayable. Meaning
Literally.
You could not play it. What I don't mean unplayable is in it was buggy or that you couldn't join lobbies sometimes.
You couldn't get in the game. You couldn't do shit.
No, I mean unplayable as in you would load into the game and fall through the floor. Like fall through the fucking ground in the game. You couldn't run because you would just run and go. It would be like quicksand. You just fall into the game as you were running. Unplayable. So now when I'm playing it, the graphics look like they're PS2. The sound design is like, what? I thought this was Battlefield. This is supposed to be the best.
You
sound
thought it
design.
Wasn't Call of Duty?
Yeah, I was like, what? Why do I sound like? Why does every gun sound like it's a 1970s? Stock sound of a fucking M1 M14. Like why doesn't it sound like each gun is unique like every other Battlefield? Why do the explosions look two-dimensional and I'm playing on a next gen fucking console? I'm playing on a next gen console and the fucking fire is 2D.
What the fuck are you doing, EA?
Dice, EA, we're done now.
There's no coming back from this. This isn't like your last 4 entries. There's no coming back from this.
I think what's necessary is that, the Federal Trade Commission gets involved. They levy a fine of $2 billion to DICE and EA.
Which is nothing to them.
They refund every person who played that or who bought that game.
They have done that.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
They have done, which is nuts. That's really bad for a look on your game.
It's really devastating, especially as somebody that's always been a Battlefield fan, that always wanted to champion the Battlefield brand.
Call of Duty, yeah.
Because
100%.
it was the only thing that was giving Call of Duty competition, making Call of Duty innovate. There would be no ground war without Battlefield.
I agree.
There would be no ground war.
I agree with that heavily because that's what I think about. If I've ever played ground war on Call of Duty, I'm like, damn, this feels like Battlefield right now. And so you're right.
Yeah, so you see how that healthy competition benefits. It should.
It's a good thing.
Both
it's
games,
only a good thing.
Exactly. So, it was just a really sad moment where I finally had this new console. I wanted to play Battlefield because, hey, this is the new gen Battlefield.
Yeah.
It had its problems in the past, but now, I'm giving it a new shot. Man.
Still no.
Man.
That's bad. That's really bad, bro. It is because we've also talked about this. There is too much money and technology involved nowadays for games not to be anything short of good. You cannot convince me otherwise. With any title that comes out, there's way too big of a market for them to not have the funds to either pay someone or further advance the people that they're already paying to make this better. There's no reason for it.
You know what I love about all the sort of media surrounding video games? My favorite thing is when it's like a Call of Duty release or it's just like a standard stock release, but then they show you the behind the scenes of the developers making it. And they're like, we spent 12 hours just searching the its trigger style of this particular AR-15 so we could make sure it matched perfectly with the game. And we have over 15,000 developers just working on the serial numbers for each pistol.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you work on making the game good?
Yeah, if you're gonna do that much, Make your involvement worth it. Don't just do a small little niche that your fucking company thought was gonna connect better with your fans and your players of the game. Make the game good. That's it. It is literally such a simplistic idea that it blows my mind for them to not meet the mark that not only they set, but that maybe that even the consumer set for the game itself. It makes no sense because they see it all. Mm-hmm. They see what people want out of the games. They're online. They pay people to go look for what do we need to put in this game? What do we need to do to make this game better? There's literally no excuse for majority of games that come out to be in the states that they are.
State that they're in. No, there's no excuse. There's no excuse.
There's no excuse. No game should get released and a year or two later it's finally what they promised us it was going to be years before the game ever comes out.
Yeah, it's like you get this 6-year gap between what they tell you and what you play.
And what you actually get.
Yeah, it's wild.
But
no, I'll have more next week. I wanna play it a little bit more, get deeper into Starfield so that I can really talk about it.
You'll come around, bro. I promise you.
Yeah.
You will.
Because I'm sure there'll be an episode where I come on here and I'm like, this is the greatest game of all time. I'm having the greatest time of my life. I'm sure I can feel it. I know it's coming.
You know how I know you're going to feel that way?
Why?
Because I felt that way. Again, like I said, bro, it takes a good amount of credibility, not only credibility, but like personal interaction with the game for me to be like, you need to get this game.
Yeah, no,
you need to play the game. Because you know me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I've only told you so many games as far as like ones that I've played or heard about where I'm like, bro, you need to get this game. There's not many.
No, that's why I took it real seriously. When you told me like, no, you should get it, like you just said that point blank, I was like, all right, let me at least play it because Dom doesn't usually say definitely get this game. The only other time you did that was Elden Ring, and it's my favorite game.
And exactly.
So I was like, all right, I'll go ahead and get it. But yeah, yeah, it's also good to just be playing like a next gen game.
It is, bro, because it sucks because I feel like too much time has been taken to get to the point of we're in next gen gaming now. Because we've had this talk when the Xbox One X Xbox Series X and Series S came out. Mm-hmm. We already, to me, upon the release, we should have been in that stage already.
Yeah.
Already. You're talking about next-gen gaming. Don't bring a console out without something to show what next-gen gaming is supposed to look like.
Right,
and unfortunately, being fans of Xbox, they didn't do that.
Yeah, no,
they didn't. They didn't drop any exclusives with the drop of the consoles. They didn't do anything new outside of what our Xbox Ones were already capable of, in my opinion. Maybe outside of graphics. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest. I'm not the most involved with. My graphics have to look like this for the game to be good to me.
Oh,
I'm more so with.
I'm like that.
I'm like that now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was more so like, is it replayable? Right. Is the gameplay good?
Right.
Does the game work well? Are there not a lot of bugs? There are not a lot of glitches, things like that. Mm-hmm. So, to be at the stage that we are, we finally got our first real release through Microsoft that was like, okay, here's our exclusive. This is what we're giving you guys that have been fans for years and years now. Mm. And I'm not the most ecstatic about it, but I'm content with it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I see what you guys could have fixed, but I'm here for it.
Right.
If this is what we're getting now, what are we gonna get? And I hate it because I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't feel like that 5 years down the line I'm gonna get exactly what I'm asking for. I don't want that. Games have fucking been out for how long? It's jumped. It's surplus tenfold in terms of money making off of the video game companies now, but I'm patient. Yeah, that's all I can say. I'm patient. Yeah. I can wait. It's not that serious to me, but I can wait.
Right. Like I want them to get it right, so I'll wait. You know, that's how I feel. Is like
when only hope.
Exactly. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was something we touched on last week about anime. So I was talking about how, you know, when I watch anime with my girlfriend, it's definitely can be a tricky thing.
It's not easy.
No, I think mainly because, like we talked about last week, you know, anime is essentially made for, you know, young men in Japan. Mm-hmm. And that's fine, you know, if that's their thing. But when it's such a rich art form that you want to share with people, there's these roadblocks that you run into called fan service.
Yeah.
That, unfortunately, you know, if you're someone that's not used to that genre, you're not used to that style of art, it can be really distracting. It can be really, I would say, more than distracting.
I was just going to say, it goes past distracting. It almost comes to the average person as off-putting.
Yes, and I was really trying to, like, identify what is it that's off-putting about it, and I thought about it. Like, imagine you're watching Mission Impossible, and, Tom Cruise is, like, whatever, getting ready for the next mission, and then he goes to his, like, secretary, and he's like, hey, can you help me with something? And then his secretary, it cuts to the secretary, and she's like, just like literally got doused with a bunch of water.
Yeah.
Is like in the tiniest, skimpiest outfit.
Bra and panties.
And like she's like talking normally and having a conversation with him, and it's not explained like why she looks like that. And that's what fan service is that it's these incredibly distracting scenes or images or whatever of usually the female characters in anime
almost always
just being naked or in sexually suggestive situations, which it's not a big deal. It obviously doesn't matter, but when you're trying to just appreciate something outside of that, or you're just trying to like watch it for something that is whatever, suspenseful, funny, whatever, it can take you out of the moment.
It does. And you and I being as big of fans as we are, being involved with anime as long as we have, I still have this question to this day. Who is that for? Who is that? Like who is coming to your blogs, your posts, whatever it may be, where they engage with people, where they have some sense of an idea to put that into a show? Who is telling you, I need to see that for this show to work for me? Who is doing that? And it's crazy because as long as I've been a fan, that has never been an aspect of anime that's like made it work for me ever. I never went and told someone, go watch this for the fan service. No. If I tell somebody something, it's go watch this for the animation, go watch this for the story, go watch this for the character development, like what go watch this for the fighting, whatever it may be. So I've always wondered, like, I understand, maybe it's because we're here in America,
right? Maybe
the fan service thing makes more sense in Japan, where it's originated from, more so than us. Now, I don't mind it. It's not something that would make me. It's not something that would turn me away from a title.
Right.
It's never anything that would have me be like, "Wow, I can't watch this anymore because it did it." But I'm very curious to know, like, who is keeping that so relevant within anime, because it's in a lot, bro. There's almost none that you can watch where it's in. There's an exception. There's a good amount of titles that you're like, okay, there's little to no fan service in this. This is what I want. I want straight story driven and or animation driven. Like, I want to see this at its full capacity. But nobody can be an anime fan and just like consciously look away from it. It's always there.
It's a part of it.
It's almost always there.
And I was also thinking, like, when you see anime that has very little of it, like Attack on Titan, it becomes this thing.
That was the one I had in mind. Where that's the exception. That's the main exception.
And you see, like, wow, without all of that distraction.
Look how good this is.
Look at how good this is. And I think about a show like Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is my favorite anime of all time.
We know, bro. We know.
It's the greatest anime of all time, and it will continue to be. But anyways, Neon Genesis Evangelion, even in the commercials for the next episode, if you watch, you know how in old animes, if you watch it all the way through, after the end credits, they'll have a like preview for the following episode. In their credits, they'll say like, and there'll be plenty of fan service next episode.
Really?
Did you know that? In Evangelion,
I did not know that.
It's that they're that self-aware of the shots, because if you remember in Evangelion, a lot of the shots are like sexually suggestive. For like no reason. They could just be like talking about, files on a computer, but just the way it's shot, like it'll be like an upskirt almost.
Yeah, you'll see a girl's ass like her boobs are just like fully defined, and it's like, hold on, bro. We're talking about how this mech works, and you just got a girl out here like, oh yeah.
But you gotta. So
this is what we need to do. Like, hold on, bro.
You gotta also think, like, one of the reasons why I think animes will never be made into live action movies is because if you were actually to take them seriously, like if I were to say, okay, I'm trying to think of an anime that's just ridiculous, like
with the fan service.
With the fan service, if I was trying to make a real
Fire Force.
Yeah, even Fire Force. But I'm trying to think of like a bigger one that people listening can like visualize in their head. What's an anime that has like a lot of fan service that's very...
High School of the DxD.
Yeah, okay.
Literally every episode, like so over the top, bro. There's a scene where they're fighting, and one of the characters has a gun. He shoots a bullet.
Yeah.
And the girl he's shooting at goes to dodge it, and it literally the bullet goes like right between where her crotch is.
Yeah.
Right in between both her boobs, and the shots that you get from it are like super suggestive. It's like it shows everything in full motion. You're like, oh,
if you were to
let the bullet go by.
Yeah, if you were to recreate that in real life,
impossible.
But if you were to do it, it would be hilarious. It would be so wildly absurd. And the fact that that's in anime, I think because it's 2-dimensional, because it's animated, animated, you can kind of
get away with it.
You can almost just like, oh, whatever, something ridiculous in an animation, but it's kind of what keeps anime. It almost is what holds it back.
It does,
from being something that could be amazing source material for live action work, because so much of it. I mean, even the character builds for women on most animes are just like these ridiculously like busty.
Not always realistic.
And it's like whatever. But even in a show like a Full Metal Alchemist, you'll have, who's the one girl with the dreads? Who's supposed to be their teacher?
Oh, gosh. Oh my God.
She's just busting out of. She's just busting out of her shirt the whole fucking show.
Yeah, she's got the white top. Yeah. She's the one that teaches them how to physically fight.
Imagine if I was like,
I know who you're talking about.
Imagine if I was like, yo, imagine if I was like, yo, Dom, we got to do casting for our movie. It's about a alchemist in Europe, and he's learning alchemy, and we've got to cast the teacher for him. So I've got a couple of girls here that, because it has to be a female teacher, I got a couple of women that we're going to use, and I just show you like a couple of headshots, and I'm like, I really want the one that's got the big tits. Like, what? Imagine if I said that to you, like.
It would sound like a derogatory term.
But
although it's realistic to fit the mold.
That's what anime does, though. It's like, okay, we have to make a character that's a female, but let's make sure she has big tits. Like, that's literally
that's the main source they want you to realize. They casted her for that reason. Like, no, we brought her in for this reason alone.
It's fucking crazy. And yeah, I mean, you try to get past it. You try to watch the shows, but as you get older, my only point last week was that it gets harder.
When you have a girlfriend.
When you have a girlfriend.
Only that. Because it may know that. They're aware of that. Yeah. They realize the core viewers are men, so they know with whatever feedback they're going to get, it's not going to be much on a negative side. Let's be realistic here. Mm-hmm. Most men, especially more so ones without their girlfriends, are going to be like, yeah.
Right.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
As an actual anime fan, you may not feel that same way, but most of the men that watch it, like some people probably watch certain anime for fan service, bro.
I think that's
nuts to me.
No,
there's a lot of good stories covered up by fan service.
Yeah.
For people, not for everybody, but for some people, it's like that, and it's not good.
No,
I don't think it's good.
It keeps you from being able to share it. That's my whole point. But we're at our time. It's been an hour. Listen, guys, please follow us on Two Detroit Nerds. That's TOW Detroit Nerds at Instagram. DM us. Let us know what you think about the show.
Communicate with us.
Communicate us. And also let us know, if you want to get on the show. Yes. I want to know if you're listening right now and you're doing anything remotely interesting. I want to know who you are.
Yeah, we're very open to
Please.
This. So come on our show. Come get on here. Get some exposure.
Yes. So thank you for listening. Again,
thank you guys.
This is the show that never stops.
Two Detroit Nerds.
It's Two Detroit Nerds.